This week, a piece of news has come to light that has caused a real stir. It has appeared in all the media, and not only in those that usually deal with church news. The Vatican has summoned Monsignor Vigano, who was nuncio in the United States, and who has been there in the recent years since he made his accusations against former Cardinal McCarrick, one of the harshest critics of Pope Francis, to be judged in the doctrine of the faith. Monsignor Vigano is accused of being in danger of schism. He is accused of great insults against the Pope. He is accused of saying that the Pope is a heretic and that he is an illegitimate Pope because he was elected through a conspiracy that is forbidden. Monsignor Vigano is also accused of rejecting the Second Vatican Council, two very serious accusations that put him in the verge of schism. The meeting was scheduled for last Thursday, the appointment that Monsignor Vigano did not show up. And although he has the right to present written accusations by the 28th, it seems very likely that he will not even do that. Instead, he has published a very harsh communique in which he says, among other things, that it is an honor to be accused in this way and by whom. He reiterates all the things that he is accused of. He affirms that the council represents the ideological, theological, moral, liturgical cancer of which the Bergoglian Synodal Church, these are his words, is a necessary metastasis. Let's break it down. First of all, you cannot accuse without proving the accusations. If you accuse somebody, in this case the Pope, of course it could be anybody else, and you have no proof of these accusations. It turns against you and becomes a slander or a crime of slander. You have all the suspicions you want, but you have to be able to prove it, especially when it is something that serious as what Vigano is saying against the Pope, that he's illegitimate and that he is a heretic. Prove it. Cardinal Miller spoke about it some time ago and said that if something cannot be proven, and he referred to this, then it cannot be said. Therefore, I believe that what Vigano is doing is not an attempt to renew the Church. Insults and slanders do not serve to build, but to destroy and discredit the one who makes them. When there is no proof and the accusations are as serious as the Pope is illegitimate, when there is no proof, the best thing to do is to keep quiet, first of all. Of course, there is something else. I do not know if it is more important than insulting a Pope and saying that he is a heretic, and that he's illegitimate without being able to prove it. The other thing that Vigano says is that Vatican II is heretical. He is not talking, Vigano, about the post-conciliar or hermeneutical application of breaking with tradition and the Word of God. He's talking about the Council itself. He's not saying that there have been abuses in the post-conciliar, in what is usually called the spirit of the Council. He is not saying that, because many of us are saying that. What he is saying that the Church is the source and origin of the problem. What does that mean? By discrediting the Council, he discredits and says it literally in his abrupt response that he gave to the Vatican quote. He discredits, he says it, the post-conciliar magisterium. The post-conciliar magisterium includes the magisterium of two already canonized popes, St. Paul VI and St. John Paul II, a beatified pope, St. John Paul I, and a Pope Benedict XVI, of whom I am sternly convinced that he is a saint, and I'm not the only one who thinks so, and he is wise and humble saint. Is all this thrown overboard? Is this all worthless? Does he discredit the Council which he says is heretical? And does he discredit those who have tried to apply the Council as hermeneutic with a key of continuity with the Word of God and with tradition? This is too much to affirm and too much to discredit. John Paul II and Benedict XVI were all aware of it, and Paul VI suffered from it. They were well aware that the Council could be interpreted in a key of rupture, and that hermeneutic of which Benedict XVI spoke so often. They were well aware of this, and did everything possible to ensure that the Council was applied in a key of continuity, that is not a rupture, that there was no before and after in the history of the Church, as if the Church was starting from scratch without obligatory reference to revelation, including the revelation of the Word and the revelation of tradition. A church that starts from zero, without Jesus Christ as a point of reference, without revelation, which is composed of the word and of tradition, but also of public opinion, which dominates the other two. Benedict XVI and John Paul II were well aware of what is happening, and they fought vigorously against it. Well, all of this is useless for Vigano because he has no solution. That is, if the council is heretical, there is no possibility of interpreting continuity with the previous one because what is spoiled cannot be repaired. Can it really be honestly said that John Paul II broke with the tradition and the word of God? Can anyone say that? Can it be said that the wisest pope of the church had in recent centuries, Benedict XVI, did not know that the council was the problem? Does Vigano know more about theology, church history, and everything else than the intellectual giant of Benedict XVI? These are slanderous statements, and I really feel bad to see them made, not only against whom they are made, but by whom they are made, because he's a Catholic archbishop. If we were to stay here, we would stay on the surface, very serious, intolerable, the accusations against Pope Francis, against the Council, against St. John Paul II, against Benedict XVI. Okay, this is the surface. Let's go even deeper. What is Vigano doing? Vigano is doing a reaction. It is a reaction. It is a reaction against what or against whom? Because that is the root of the problem. What Vigano is doing cannot be accepted, but it is a reaction. And if we do not realize that this reaction against something, we might make an accurate judgment about the person and what he says, without realizing that there is a cause that provokes this reaction. There is an action that causes the reaction. What is that action? Well, the very thing that caused Vigano to behave the way he did. Why didn't Vigano do this when he was nuncio to the United States? Why didn't he do it when he worked in the Vatican? Why didn't he do it in the pontificate of Benedict XVI? Why didn't he do it? Because they both struggled and suffered. You have to see what John Paul II went through and what Benedict XVI went through because of the struggle they made. They fought and suffered martyrdom for a correct application of the council, when already Paul VI and later, when the consequences of the applications were seen to break with tradition and with the word of God, people like Vigano reacted. Therefore, if there's a reaction to be condemned, we must also look for the origin of the reaction, the action that provokes the reaction, and we must condemn it. It would be a mistake to condemn Vigano and not to do anything against those who carry out the abuses that have been tolerated for many years and that have provoked the reaction. Unjustified, unacceptable, but finally a reaction to an action that has taken place before. If the abuses of Germany, Belgium, Switzerland, and not only their moral, dogmatic, liturgical abuses are tolerated without doing anything, if this is tolerated, we are giving arguments to people like Vigano who, by reacting against this, are making a mistake. This is why we have to go back. And I really say this because I believe it. We have to go back to the interpretation of Vatican II, in continuity with 2,000 years of church history, in continuity with the Word of God that cannot be touched, in continuity with the revelation that comes to us through tradition. Tradition must always move forward. It has always done so, but never backwards. The best way to face this schism that will occur, whose consequences I do not know with Monsignor Vigano, the best way is to remove those things that have provoked this reaction. Otherwise, for many, especially for people who do not have a good formation, for many Vigano's reaction will be right and many will go with him. There is a talk of completely abolishing the use of the traditional Mass. If this were to happen, now it is already very limited. If there was to happen, if it were completely suppressed, would he not give arguments to the people who believe that Vigano is right? Wouldn't those who fervently follow the traditional Mass be invited to go with Vigano or with Monsignor Lefebvre's group, whom Vigano openly praises? The extremes need each other, but history does not advance by swinging the pendulum from one extreme to the other. The position of Benedict XVI, of John Paul II, of trying to unite, of trying to apply the council in fidelity to tradition and to the word with hermeneutic of continuity is the only solution for the Church to get out of this very serious situation in which it finds itself. I ask for prayers. May God grant that a solution be found, so that we do not face a new schism, which only hurt and break the unity of the Church, always with great pain and serious consequences. Until next week, God willing.